Now, Iranian state TV broadcasts Tucker Carlson's interviews and clips, dubbed in Persian. Now, there's an internet and telephone blackout in Iran, but they still broadcast Tucker Carlson. They show him criticizing U.S. foreign policy and Israel. Now, his show is used as propaganda in Iran to promote an anti-Western agenda, especially during protests. Now, here's Senator Ted Cruz speaking yesterday.
I believe Tucker Carlson is the single most dangerous demagogue in this country. It started about a year and a half ago with platforming crackpot professors seeking to rewrite history about World War II. So he has one idiot whom he describes as the most consequential popular historian in the country, who leans forward and intones that Winston Churchill was the villain of World War II. He then finds another crackpot professor who says there's a good argument that America should have sided with the Nazis in Germany in World War II. And for all of this, Tucker gazes adoringly. By the way, no, there is not. Winston Churchill was an extraordinary historical figure. There's a reason Churchill's bust is on my mantle.
Now, the senator's also spoken about how the Muslim Brotherhood tweets out Tucker Carlson's video clips. Okay, here's a recent tweet from an official Muslim Brotherhood account. Now, Senator Cruz also has discussed how isolationists on the right and socialists on the left now share a worldview nearly indistinguishable from Iran's. Now, Carlson is undermining U.S. troops by calling them rapists, as I discussed in my previous video. It seems he's doing that because the people of Iran view the U.S. favorably. Carlson wants to change their minds. Now, Iran's constitution states that the 12th imam, who died in the 9th century, allegedly didn't die but disappeared into the air and is the true leader of the nation. Now, their constitution states that the supreme leader rules on behalf of the disappeared 12th imam. Now, supposedly, he will return when Israel is destroyed. I mean, it's crazy stuff. They are fanatics. And Tucker Carlson, in my view, embraces what he seems to think he represents to them, the people of Iran, the people of that brand of Islam. The record shows he used to be anti-Islam, but after being fired by Fox News, he began making pro-Islam statements, and his content became pro-Islam. He had lost the respect of the American media establishment. Now, that happened with the firing by Fox News. His identity, his sense of self must have suffered a devastating blow when he was cut off by Rupert Murdoch. Now, Tucker Carlson had been at Fox News for 14 years. Now, it seems to me he has a lot of anger about how his run at Fox News ended. He's looking for respect and admiration even, and maybe he believes he's found that in the world of Islam, the brand of Islam that's anti-Western, anti-American, and anti-Israel. Now, meanwhile, the 12th imam hasn't returned, but his substitute, according to Iran's constitution, is the new Ayatollah. Now, reports indicate he was injured in an airstrike. Either that or he's in hiding. Now, some news outlets indicate he's still functioning as leader. But this report says the new Ayatollah is on life support in a hospital and currently unaware that the war has even started or that his father is dead. Now, his father was the previous Ayatollah, so that's an injury, okay? There's even a theory that someone else is ruling in his place. Now, regardless, the Iranians might have a decision to make if such a decision is offered to them. Okay, this map shows the Strait of Hormuz. It's the most important shipping lane in the world. It's just 30 miles wide at the narrowest point. Now, it's the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the open seas. Oil from the Persian Gulf flows through the strait to the rest of the world. Now, Asian countries are the most at risk if Iran begins laying mines in the waters of the strait, as Iran has threatened to do. Now, Asia gets around 70% of its oil and natural gas through the Strait of Hormuz. Europe, about 18%. Now, the United States has very little exposure. Only about 2% of the oil comes through the strait. But oil prices might be affected. Now, the U.S. can release our strategic oil reserves globally to offset price fluctuations. Now, but President Trump is telling Iran not to do it. Don't choke off the strait, or Iran will be hit 20 times harder. Now, CNN is reporting that Iran has already begun laying the mines. The insurance companies already have pulled back and will not insure oil tankers going through the strait. Now, oil tankers are huge, so they wouldn't be destroyed if they hit a mine in the water, but they could be damaged, could begin leaking oil and catch on fire. Now, the U.S. can deploy assets to remove the mines. Here's retired Army General David Petraeus.
There are different types. There's floating. They're just below the surface of the water. Usually, there are some that are tethered to the bottom. And then once you identify it and figure out the type it is and so forth, you have to figure out how it is that you're going to render it safe. You can literally blow it up. You can electronic warfare. There's a variety of techniques. But this is a real challenge. It's something very much to take seriously. And I'm sure that Admiral Cooper, one of the first times that you have a Navy admiral commanding U.S. Central Command, he knows how to do this. He knows the assets that we have in our Navy to do it. And I certainly hope that they are all marshaled either in or very near to the Gulf and the Strait.
And what about an off-ramp for the Iranians? Let's watch.
We are at an inflection point, and President Trump sort of alluded to this, right? That either the Iranians mine the strait and meet consequences that are sort of beyond anything that we have done so far, the American military has done so far, or not mining the strait would be seen as an off-ramp for the Iranians. Any predictions on what the Iranians do?
Well, this is a really interesting question because we have a new supreme leader. The assumption is that because he's the son of the old hardline ideological cleric supreme leader, that he's going to be the same, but it remains to be seen. We are hammering Iran, taking down their missile program, already took down their air missile defenses. Obviously, regime leaders have been killed in substantial numbers. We're going after the drones, the naval forces, and then just the regime forces in general, as well as some infrastructure. In fact, so much of that President Trump apparently called Prime Minister Netanyahu and said, lay off that for a while. We may need that to bring the oil markets back in sync. Again, this is a real question. Will he prove to have a shred of pragmatism? Will he stop? Will he cease fire when we do? That people have asked me, tell me how this ends. I think it ends when President Trump decides that it ends.
Okay, so potentially, if Iran surrenders unconditionally, and maybe the new supreme leader or his surrogate, whoever that is or whoever they are, will come to terms, okay? In my view, and this is just my analysis, this current mini-crisis over the Strait of Hormuz indicates that Iran's power is flickering out. Because the world, and certainly the United States and Israel, will not tolerate Iranian control of the Strait of Hormuz in the future. Now, we have to control it, right? Of course we do, the United States and Israel. Now, this is what I see for the future, and the Iranian regime must come to grips. It will take a lot of maturity for the regime to surrender unconditionally, which they must do because now they've lost their queen on the chessboard. The Strait of Hormuz cannot be controlled by a violent, apocalyptic regime anymore. The world sees that now. The Iranian regime must come to grips. Now, we heard General David Petraeus. The United States knows how to deploy assets to the Persian Gulf to remove the mines, so it can be done and will be, and eventually shipping will be restored. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.